You know what? Haven't done a Tommy's Tips in a while. Let's do a Tommy's Tips, shall we? What's going on, y'all? My name is Tommy, in case that wasn't abundantly clear. Strength of Thousands. It's the adventure path that a lot of people are talking about. Specifically, it's the adventure path I'm raving about a lot because I think it's really dope. It's a very new step in terms of published content for Paizo's APs. However, I do think there are some things that could be tweaked to better the experience, make it have a little more polish and shine. And so today, I am here to posit that Kindled Magic, Book 1, is written out of order. So as I got ready to record this video, I thought about making comparisons to the hero's journey. We're all aware of the trope. I think it would be a little better from the lens of the tabletop role-playing game to compare it more so to the arc of the adventure path. Now, of course, there are a bunch coming out in specifically Pathfinder that take place over 3 books. As someone who has played adventure paths for years and years and completed, Attack of the Swarm, Iron Fang Invasion, but attempted to finish so many more, I'm definitely a fan of the shorter story. That said, I think the majority of us, when we sign up for a 6-book adventure path, are jumping in for the entirety of that story. And oftentimes, that story encompasses the growth of the character you specifically made for the adventure. Not only from levels 1 to 20 will you go from angry little farmer with rusty dagger to archmage, you likewise go from new students to one of the most famous magical schools in the Mwangi Expanse to the literal top of the food chain therein. And thus that arc, which obviously requires significant buy-in to that specific place, the lore around it, so on and so forth. Now, let me paint 2 scenarios for you. In the first scenario, your character comes to the place of adventure, spends a significant amount of time answering personal questions, taking aptitude tests, being introduced to various NPCs, the various schools of the Magambia, and doing minor services for them, anything ranging from buying endangered chickens at the market to delivering the mail. After this is complete, you then have a initiation ceremony, which is seemingly botched out of nowhere, in which you will be fired upon by something that imposes disadvantage on you as you're running through difficult terrain in what is a very harrowing, deadly encounter. Those who are responsible for you show up after, say, "Oh, this is horrible. We'll look into this." You are then set loose on your way. Some time passes. Do the thing that you want to do to teachers grab you to run random errands. One of them being examine the bug problems that happen on campus, which results in a pretty scary encounter against a swarm of centipedes. Oh, by the way, did I mention the majority of people probably showed up to this AP playing like wizards and sorcerers and low fort save things? Yeah, it's real rude. Then afterwards, a smaller dungeon clearing out a library that never got finished, which is infested with minor gremlins that are easy enough to dispatch because they're sleeping as you show up, and bugs that are not carnivorous and so shouldn't attack your party unless your GM is that guy. After which there is another ceremony in which you are attacked, though fortunately there are a lot of NPCs, teachers, students, the party's family or otherwise present to help you from getting bowled over, after which the faculty gets fed up with all of the dangerous near-death experiences that are going on at their school, and thus send the people who are being victimized down beneath the school into tunnels to root out what the heck is happening. They eventually find the source of it, and the day is saved. Scenario the second. The party shows up at the Magambia. There is a long series of questions about your character, why they've come here. You spend a lot of time meeting NPCs, being exposed to the world, being exposed to the various branches of the school, performing tasks such as getting endangered chickens from the market, delivering the mail, so on and so forth. Once these tasks conclude, your general day-to-day at the Magambia continues, and teachers pull you aside from time to time to ask you to perform various tasks, such as exploring an abandoned library to find some old books, at which point you run into some sleeping creatures who are easy enough to sneak up on, either dispatch or de-escalate through diplomacy, and deal with several non-carnivorous insects which aren't going to hurt you unless you're like a poppet or literally made of scrolls. From there, you realize, there seems to be an insect problem here. A teacher grabs you, asks you to investigate, and run into a swarm of centipedes during said investigation, which are carnivorous and pose a threat to the party. After which point, the party is taken through an initiation ceremony, in which there is an interruption, but thankfully, the people responsible for the students are there to help deal with it. More time is spent learning the various ups and downs of what happens within your particular branch at the Magambia. Then, during the next big ceremony, a bad thing happens in front of everyone, including including your family, other students, other teachers. Everybody has to deal with it. And then, since there was a disaster, the teachers all draw the line. There's a call to action. The party, who now has reached attendant rank, aka level 3, are sent along with other teachers and other students down to investigate the problem at its source, ultimately confronting the villain, solving it, and the day was saved. In the first scenario, difficulty spikes come out of nowhere and can be very lethal, especially for a party that's not necessarily optimizing for combat because we signed up for magical school, not mega dungeon, right? Said difficulty spikes do two things that do a really big disservice to Strength of Thousands, in my opinion. The first, if you are playing for a very long time, getting attached to your character, kind of par for the course here. We want to watch a particular individual's growth from student to master, and death can be a sizable barrier for that. But more importantly, something I've noticed in all of my runs of Strength of Thousands and my once as a player is the Magambia, touted as one of the most prestigious magical schools in all of Galarian, Nintambu, a city which has not been attacked by hostile forces in a very, very long time because of the mages flying air support around it constantly, cannot defend students within the literal heart of its city. This then runs the risk of painting the school as full of inept teachers. I've heard the term murder school thrown around more than once. And all that time you spend meeting NPCs, going around through the city, having the values of the Magambia drilled into your head kind of falls by the wayside. In the second, the arc of difficulty is much more gradual. Are there threats? Yes. There are events with gremlins and a bit about a MacLeod that I'm leaving out in my description for the sake of broad strokes, and because they're way less deadly than the problematic encounters. Over the course of Scenario B, your character establishes themselves within the party, establishes rapport with NPCs and teachers, and you begin to learn how to work as a team with the rest of your party before these big, inevitable, scary encounters. It also gives you a chance to level into some of them. It makes the escalation feel much more natural, and once the escalation reaches a clear breaking point where lives are put in danger, the people in charge immediately draw a line and say, okay, we're dealing with this right now, as opposed to like Dumbledoring it. By the time the party is sent to help deal with the problem, they are ranking members of the Magambia. They aren't the only ones dealing with the bad thing, and they also probably stand a much better chance of not getting randomly wiped out of nowhere, short of bad dice rolls, because it's been clearly communicated, hey, something shitty is going on here. We all should go to a place where probably bad things are going to happen and prepare accordingly. That way you're not caught with your pants down and your armor unequipped when gremlins are shooting at you. To be clear, I am suggesting we run Kindled magic as follows. Run Chapter 1's orientation normally, but do not do the introduction ceremony until later. Rather, include all of Chapter 2, first of many, as part of the character's prerequisite, but run it backwards. Obviously leaving out the first masking until later. After the Uzunjati assignment, immediately proceed to Takulu's reading list, after which the party levels to level 2. Then run bug problems, after which the characters receive their introduction, in which the gremlins attack them. Since they've leveled to level 2, they should have a little better chance against the difficult encounter, but ensure that there are people, teachers, students, guardian chickens, in one group I had, don't ask, present to make sure they don't just immediately eat it. After this concludes, run the class downtime, run everyone up to attendant rank, get them introduced to their various classes, have big roleplay and flavor text day, as Kindled Magic really wants you to do, concluding with the first masking, which results in the very big encounter that happens there, proceeding immediately to Stonecast Shadows to resolve the problems therein. Strictly speaking, I think this is the much better way to frame the Magambia as a school, book one of the adventure as an adventure, and it probably includes a lot more survivability, which frankly seems very important, but that's all the time I have for today. What do y'all think? How are y'all faring in Strength of Thousands? Let me know down in the comments. As always, thank y'all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.